Morning children, welcome to the economics class session. See, last class we were discussing about the features of services and the features of characteristics of utility. We discussed about that in the last session, and I think all of you did the homework and you have sent it to me also. Very good, I am very happy about it. And let us now discuss what are the types of utility. See, when we look into the types of utility, we can classify the types of utility under 6 broad headings. That is form utility, time utility, place utility, service utility, possession utility and knowledge utility. If you have the book with you, please take page 10. Okay, as you listen to me, you can just look into the book also. Okay, so we have 10 types of utilities or kinds of utilities. First of all, utility is what? The want satisfying power of a commodity. The extent to which a commodity or service can satisfy the need or want of a consumer. Okay, the amount of satisfaction that is obtained by consuming a commodity is utility. Now, under this utility, we have 6 types. Let us see one after the other. First is form utility. Form utility means an individual consumer, he obtains satisfaction, that is, he obtains utility only when that particular good or service is in that particular form. Okay, if the product is in a particular form, you get utility. Okay, see, I'll give you, we have got so many examples for that. Okay, see, for example, rice. Okay, the uncooked rice grain, is it of any utility to you? Unless it is cooked into food, okay, it is cooked into food, it is of no utility for us. It cannot satisfy our hunger. Likewise, what is it? In front of me, I have the savories mixture packet I have. Okay, to make this mixture, you need what is it? What dal is that? Besan flour. Okay, besan flour means kadalamav. Okay, if the besan flour is available with me, will it satisfy my urge of eating mixture? Definitely no. Only when this besan flour is converted into mixture or any other type of savory, it will give me utility. As such, the besan flour will not give me any utility. Kadla maavu saapida mudiyuma directa? It is not possible. When it is converted into mixture and any other savory items, we can have it. So, a commodity, if it is in one form, it is of not any utility to us. Only when it is converted or if it is in any particular form only, it gives utility for the consumers. Okay, likewise, an example given here is cotton. See, raw cotton, if it is in the tree, the cotton that is taken out from the cotton plant, okay, is of no utility for us unless it is being converted into cloth. Okay, so cotton, though it is needed for us, in the raw material form, it is not of utility to us. When it is converted into the finished form, in the form of cloth, it is of utility to us. This you call it as form utility. How do you call it as? Form utility. Next is time utility. A good example. Okay, here what example they have given here is, a sick man derives time utility from the blood not at the time of donation but at the time of operation only. See, for example, a sick man is there, okay, and he needs blood, okay, and the blood donation is given last month. Will it be of any use to the sick man? No. The blood will be of use to the person only when he requires the blood at that particular point of time. During the time of the need only, the blood is required, not at any time whenever the donations are made. Another simple example, I would say, all of us, we travel by bus, is it? And we are located in this, almost all of you are located in this area, like in Taraham Road or in NSR Road, adjoining this area only. Say, for example, when we wanted to go to Marudamalai, okay, we are waiting for the bus. Okay, definitely, if the bus comes during that time when we are waiting for the bus, it is of utility to us. There is time utility. Now we are going to, on the other hand, we are waiting for, we need to go to railway station. We are waiting for the bus 11, okay, but more number of 70 buses are on the way. Okay, is it of any utility to me at that particular time? Definitely no. 70 is of no utility to me. The bus number 70 is of no utility to me when I wanted to go to railway station. What is of utility to me? Only the bus which goes to railway station, the 11 series only is of utility to me. A very simple example I have given you. Next is place utility. A student derives place utility from a book not at the place of the publication but at the place of education. See, for example, a book is of use to us where when the publisher is publishing the book, when he keeps the book at the publishing center itself, is it of utility to us? Definitely no. When is it of utility to us? Only when it is in our hands, in the place of education. If the book published is there at the place of education only, it is of utility. It is of utility for whom? For the user and for the publisher. This you call it as place utility. Next is service utility. Service utility means the service of a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. See, for example, there are more number of lawyers and doctors available around us. Are we utilizing their service at all the time, or only when we need their particular service we are going to utilize it? Only when we want that particular service, we want the service of a doctor. Otherwise, a doctor or a lawyer. Otherwise, a lawyer will only be my friend, or he might not be a known person to me also. See, daily will we go to a lawyer to meet into our cases or to file a case or to have a clearance about our cases? Definitely no. Only when we have an issue, we utilize the service of a doctor or the service of a lawyer. An individual consumer derives service utility from the service made available at the time we need the most. Okay, only at the time we want that particular service, we utilize that service. Otherwise, that service is of no use to us. Okay, the lawyer might be my very good friend, but only when I need his service, I'll be utilizing it. So, this you call it as service utility. Next is possession utility. See, when a book is in the hands of a student, it is of one utility. Okay, because it satisfies the need of learning and acquiring knowledge. The same book, if it is in the hands of a bookseller, what purpose it serves? The purpose is totally different. For him, the book is only a commodity or a product. It is not a utility which gives him knowledge rather. Okay, so possession utility is something, it depends on the person who possesses that particular product or service. The utility varies. Okay, for a bookseller, it is a commodity. Okay, it is a good rather. For a user, for a consumer, it is a good which satisfies his need of acquiring knowledge. Next is knowledge utility. See, how are we able to get to know that this particular product is available in the market? Okay, see, see, for example, I need to travel. There is an urgent necessity that I have to travel immediately to Bangalore. Okay, how will you know that? What are the ways of reaching Bangalore? Only when you have any information relating to that being given to you, or any advertisement relating to that source of information is there, that only gives me the knowledge to utilize that particular service. So, how are we able to get the knowledge regarding that? The advertisements helps us to get the source of information through various medias. So, this you call it as knowledge utility. That is the utility that we derive by having the knowledge of a particular thing. Okay, so the types of utility we are finishing. What are the different types of utility? Form utility. What example I gave you? Cotton raw material. Okay, and I gave you the example of mixture. Okay, time utility. I gave you the example of blood donation and the bus 70. Next is place utility. What is the example? The book in the hands of the publisher and the book in the hands of the school. Next is service utility, the service of a doctor or a lawyer. Next is possession utility. Again, the book in the hands of a bookseller and a book in your hand. Knowledge utility, advertisement satisfies the knowledge utility. With this, we are finishing the types of utilities. Next is, see, many a times I am talking about utility. What is utility? The satisfaction that we obtain by consuming a commodity. The wants of a person are satisfied. How are the wants satisfied? Wants of a person satisfied only when he consumes that particular commodity, his want is satisfied. Now, when you consume a commodity, you feel happy or you don't feel happy also. Only when we feel happy, we say that it is of utility to us. Okay. Now, the consumer derives utility, which is normally, can you measure satisfaction in real terms? In real terms, we cannot measure satisfaction. How much are you satisfied? Okay, by eating one plate of dosa. Can you say that? Can you measure and say me that? It is not at all possible. In reality, it is not possible to measure satisfaction. But in economics, okay, we assign measurable terms even for a terminology, for an abstract term like satisfaction. Okay, abstracts means what? Something which cannot be measured. Okay, so a consumer derives utility means it is measured in utils. Utils is taken as a unit of measuring utility. Okay, how are we able to measure the length of roads? Okay, so util is the unit of measurement of utility. See, for example, how will we measure the length of roads? We measure the length in meters and kilometers. You meant if you want to measure the length of a pencil, you measure in centimeters. When you wanted to measure milk packet, something which is liquid, you use what? Liters. Like that, to measure satisfaction, to measure utility, we use a terminology called as util. So, how are we able to measure utility? Utility is measured in terms of the unit called as util. Underline that, and util is a unit of measurement of utility. And how are we able to measure? Money serves as a measuring rod for measuring utility. See, the amount of money that I am ready to pay to buy a product will decide my utility. See, for example, I wanted to watch a movie. The first show, I wanted to watch a movie or a favorite actor's movie. Now, I'm ready to pay a very high price to buy the ticket, which means that the amount of satisfaction that I obtain by watching the movie is equal to the money that I am ready to pay to buy the ticket. So, money is used as a measuring rod to measure our satisfaction. Okay, underline this. And util is a unit of measurement of utility, and it can be measured indirectly using the measuring rod of money. Now, let us learn few terminologies which we very often use in our subject. First thing is price. All of us know what the term price means. Okay. See, for example, if I wanted to find the value of any particular commodity in terms of money, that is called as price. That is, price is what? The value of any good or service which is expressed in terms of money. Please underline this. Okay. The value of a commodity, if it is expressed, whatever the money it is expressed in terms of money, that I call it as price of a commodity. See, many a times we have been misusing the word cost in place of price. When we go to a shop, okay, we wanted to buy a what can we say? We wanted to buy a textbook or a notebook. Okay, what do you ask the shopkeeper? You ask the shopkeeper what is the price of the product or the cost of the product. Many a times we ask him, what is the cost of this? Okay, but the real thing is price is an apt word which we need to use in that place. Okay, which means the value of that particular product, here the notebook, which is expressed, how is it expressed in terms of rupees, 30 rupees, 40 rupees. Okay, so how is this price being determined? The price of a product is based on the demand condition and supply condition of the product. About all this, we'll be learning in depth about these topics in the forthcoming lessons. And the price only will decide how much quantities has to be produced and what are the goods that have to be produced also. Okay, and whether the goods have to be produced or not will be decided only by the price of the commodity. Next is the term market. All of us, we are very familiar with the word market. Okay, market means what? According to us, it is a place where the goods are bought and sold. But in economics, market is a place, market represents the term where the buyers and sellers, they exchange the goods and services for a price. Okay, they can meet or they need not meet also, but the exchange of goods and services takes place. And a price is also being fixed for the commodity that is being exchanged. See, for example, we are recharging our mobile phones. Are we going directly to the Reliance office and doing it? Definitely no. We sit in a place itself and we sit in our mobile and immediately we recharge it and pay it through online itself. Okay. So it is not a must that the buyer and the seller have to meet each other, but the exchange of good or service takes place. For what? For a price. Next is cost. Cost refers to the amount of money that is incurred to produce or acquire a certain quantity of commodity. Okay, the amount of money that is incurred, okay, to what? To produce a commodity or to acquire a commodity or to buy a commodity from one place and sell it. If the business is buying and selling, not producing and selling, if you are a dealer, you buy the commodities from one place and you sell the commodity to some other place. So in this case, the amount of money that is spent for acquiring the commodities, that you call it as cost. Okay, so for what purpose it is done? Is it being incurred to gain for the purpose of earning profit? Next is revenue. The next term that we'll be learning is revenue. This is also a very common word only. Revenue in economics means it is an income, okay, which is obtained when you sell a commodity or service. The income that is obtained, okay, from the sale of a good or a service. Okay, I'll give you a small example here. You are I'm not taking you, a milk wala. Okay, he delivers on a day 100 packets of milk. Okay, each packet the price of each packet is 20 rupees. Okay, the price of each packet of milk is 20. He is selling 100 units of milk. Okay, so what is his total revenue? 100 units into 20. Okay, so he will be getting how much? 2000 rupees will be his total revenue. Okay, so total revenue can be expressed mathematically as price into quantity sold. Okay, TR represents total revenue, P represents price per unit of the commodity, Q represents the total quantity of good that is sold. Okay, so total revenue is nothing but price into quantity. Next is equilibrium. Equilibrium, many a times you might have come across this word equilibrium in physics rather. Okay, equilibrium, it is something which is said to be in the state of rest, where there is no tendency to move. Okay, equilibrium is what? A position from which there is no change. Okay, there is no tendency to move. That you call it as equilibrium. Suppose if there is a tendency of moving up and down, okay, that you do not call as equilibrium, you call it as disequilibrium. The opposite of equilibrium is what? When there is a tendency of moving, okay, from one position to another position, this you call it as disequilibrium. Again, the consumer's equilibrium is attained at the place where the consumer gets maximum satisfaction. Likewise, a producer attains equilibrium at the point or the position where he gets the maximum benefit. Okay, maximum benefit for the product that he is selling. Now just look into this diagram. The x-axis represents the quantity demanded and quantity supplied. Y-axis represents price. Okay, the line DD, the blue color line DD represents demand curve, and the red color line, which is an upward sloping line, represents supply curve. Okay, the nature of all this we shall learn in depth in the next chapter. Okay, because the topic which is covered is a very small topic. Okay, about all this, why it is sloping downwards, why this red color supply line is sloping upwards, we shall learn everything, the nature of everything in the forthcoming chapters. But right now we need to understand what is equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium is a point at which the demand curve, the downward sloping blue color demand curve and the upward sloping S colored supply curve intersects. Okay, at that particular point, which is marked as E, the quantity demanded and quantity supplied is how much? OM. Okay, at what price is it demanded and supplied? They have not given the price. Let me assume it as OP. Okay, at price OP, okay, the quantity demanded by the consumer is equal to the quantity supplied by the producer or the supplier. So that particular point you call it as equilibrium. Now again, equilibrium can be conceived under two conditions. One is stable equilibrium, the other is particular equilibrium. Particular equilibrium and general equilibrium. Particular equilibrium means when it pertains to a single variable, you call it as particular equilibrium. But when the equilibrium relates to so many other variables, okay, when it relates to climatic condition, when it relates to population, when it relates to income, when it relates to technology, when it relates to more number of variables, then you call it as general equilibrium. Or even an economy, when it is relating to an economy, you call it as general equilibrium. Okay. Next is the term income. We'll learn about the term income. Income, all of us, we are again familiar with the word income. In economics, income refers to any amount which is measured in money terms, which it can be a small amount or it can be a bigger value. Okay, it can be earned or unearned. Okay, you might have earned it or you might be yet to earn it. Okay, it is accruing income over a period of time. If it is measured in economic units. Economic units means what? If it is measured in money terms. When we talk of income, okay, you can classify income into two types. One is nominal income, the other is real income. Okay, nominal income, it refers to the income which is expressed in terms of money. Okay, you otherwise call it as money income. Underline this. Nominal income refers to what? Income expressed in money terms. It is also called as what income? Money income. Real income is the amount of goods and service that can be purchased with money as your income. Underline this. It is the purchasing power of income. It is based on the rate of inflation. I shall explain you now this. See, for example, let me assume that your salary is 30,000. 30,000, okay, is your income that you receive by way of salary. Okay, this 30,000 which is expressed in money terms refers to nominal income. Okay, which is otherwise called as what? Money income. Now, let us understand what is real income. With this 30,000 rupees, what all will you do? You will buy various goods and services. You will meet all your expenses. Okay, you need to pay for rent, you need to pay for food, you need to pay for education, okay, and you need to pay for entertainment and for, so you are spending this money on various overheads. Okay, the amount of goods that could be purchased with this 30,000 is your real income. Okay, let me assume with 30,000, let me take a portion of your income. Let me take 10,000 rupees. Okay, with 10,000 rupees, okay, let me assume you are buying 5 jeans. Okay, you are buying 5 jeans. Now, this 5 jeans which you are buying for 10,000 rupees decides your real income. You are able to buy 5 jeans with 10,000 rupees. Okay, which cost 2,000 per jean. Now, the price of the jean has increased from 2,000 to 2,500 now. Now, what is the quantity of jeans that you will be able to purchase with this 10,000 rupees? You will be able to buy only 4 jeans because the price of jeans has increased from 2,000 rupees to 2,500 rupees. Now, what happens to your value of money? Your value of money has fallen down. Okay, your purchasing power has come down because where you had a better purchasing power to buy 5 jeans when the price was 2,000, now it has fallen to how much? Okay, you are able to, your purchasing price power has fallen down because the price has increased. This means the amount of goods and services you are able to buy with your money or money income is called as real income. So, real income is dependent on what? Real income is based on your purchasing power. Purchasing power is based on what? The price of commodity. Okay. Now, price of commodity normally we relate to the rate of inflation. That is all. I think you might have understood, children. Next is the methods that are used in economics. See, economics is quite a very vast subject which we saw in the first few topics. We saw how vast is the subject and how much studies have been made by different economists. Whenever any study is being made by different economists, they adopt certain methodologies to learn the subject. Okay, so what are the methods that are adopted to learn the subject of economics? We shall learn now. Basically, there are two methods which are used in economics. One is deductive method of economic analysis. The other one is inductive method of analysis. See, when we take into consideration the deductive method, see, a small picture is given. In center, a red color V is written and a downward arrow is there and an upward arrow is also there. Deductive method means it is also called as analytical method or abstract method. Here, various general truth is there. Okay, generalizations are there. From the generalized principles, okay, we apply our economic thoughts and analysis and deduce all the possibilities and arrive at a conclusion. Okay, from general we arrive at a particular conclusion after eliminating all the possibilities, and we arrive at a conclusion. This type of analysis you call it as deductive method. Deduction means what? Deducing. Okay, reducing a particular thing, you call it as deduction. So you deduct all the possibilities of happening or not happening of a particular analysis of a particular topic, and you arrive at a particular solution. Okay, this you call it as deductive method of economic analysis. On the other hand, you could see an upward arrow, okay, moving up. Okay, and inductive is written there. Now here a particular problem is taken, and what is the reason for the problem is analyzed from a particular point of view. Various analysis is being made and a generalized outcome is being achieved. Okay, so this type of analysis you call it as inductive method, where from a particular concept you make so much of analysis, experimentation and observation, and you arrive at a generalized outcome. Okay, that you call it as inductive method. Very simple. From general to particular it is deductive. From particular to generalization it is inductive. Okay. So the deductive method is also called as what? Analytical method or abstract method, where it consists of what? Deriving conclusions from general truth. It takes a few generalized principles and applies, and then he draws a conclusion. Particular precise conclusion is being drawn. Underline analytical or abstract. Who all made use of this deductive method? The classical economists and neoclassical economists, they made use of this deductive method in their economic investigation. There are various steps which are given here. The analysts, for what do they move? The analysts first, they make a very clear and precise idea of the problem that has to be inquired into. You just find out what is the problem that should be clearly understood. Okay, next analysis, what do? They define all the technical terms which are used in analysis. Okay, and the assumptions of the theory are to be very, very precise. Okay, precise means very brief. Then after that, they deduce the hypothesis. Hypothesis means the questions which doesn't have any proper solution. Okay, you do not, many a times it is very difficult to find a solution for a problem. All those are hypothetical in nature. So you deduce or you deduct all the hypothetical assumptions. Okay, and after that, okay, confirmations is being made after verifying all the observations in the real world. And what are they using? They are using observation as a method. Statistical methods are being used to arrive at a particular conclusion. This you call it as deductive method. On the other hand, inductive method. Inductive method is also called as empirical method. Underline this. Empirical method means you understand a problem, okay, or a process by reasoning, okay, taking into consideration the facts. Okay, that you call it as empirical method. Empirical means going with only facts, okay, not with assumptions or hypothetical observations. So it involves the process of reasoning from particular to general principles. Okay, next, what are the methods used? Experimentation is done, observation is done, statistical methods are used in deduction and inductive principles. Next, step 1. First, under the inductive methods, what are the steps? First, the data are collected about a particular problem or a phenomenon, because inductive method is what? From particular you go to the general principles. So regarding that particular problem, we collect all the data information. And what is the next step? You systematically arrange the data. Okay, then what do? You observe the data and conclusions are drawn based on the data that are being observed. Then after that, what is being drawn? Generalization of the data is being made and a hypothesis is being formulated. Then after finding the hypothesis, they verify whether this hypothesis is correct or not. Okay, so these are the steps used in inductive method. And there is you have a pink box, no? It is, what is Angel's law? See, though it is not a book back question, once this question was asked in 2 marks. According to Angel's law, the proportion of total expenditure incurred on food items declines as total expenditure goes on increasing. Okay, now if I just read this and go, you will not be able to understand. Let us assume your income is 30,000. Okay, out of this 30,000, month after month you spend almost 10,000 rupees for food. Okay, for food exclusively you spend 10,000, remaining 20,000 is being spent for various other expenditures in your family. Now your income is increasing from 30,000 to 40,000. What is the increase in income? 10,000 rupees is your increase in income. Now, where will you spend this increased 10,000 rupees income? Will you spend everything in food, or will you spend less in food and you will spend the remaining money in the other for the other expenses? Definitely, we will not spend all the increased 10,000 rupees on food itself. Okay, what will we do? A little portion of that increase in income we will spend in food. Next, there is an increase in income of another 10,000. Now your salary is 50,000. Now, what will be your portion of money spent on food? Will you spend more amount on food, or will you spend the money for improving your standard of living? Definitely, people will spend the increase in income only for the development of their standard of living, not for the food expenditure. This is according to Angel. The proportion of total expenditure, the portion of total expenditure, or the ratio of total expenditure incurred on food items will start declining. Now, with this, if your income is 50,000, the amount of money that is spent on food will be, at the max, you will be spending only 12,000. So, what is the ratio here? 12,000 is to 50,000. Previously, when your income was 30,000, how much were you spending on food? 10,000. So, what was the ratio? 10,000 is to 30,000. Now, as your income increases, the ratio between the food and the total expenditure goes on decreasing only. That is what is explained here. The proportion of money that is spent on food, it keeps on declining as your income increases. Okay. Now, having learnt two methods, inductive method and deductive method, many of the economists, okay, they find that both the methods have got its own pros and cons. Okay, sometimes deductive method is very apt for a problem. Sometimes the inductive method also gives comparatively good results. So, the inductive and deductive methods are both needed for what? Scientific thoughts. Okay, like how we need both the right and the left leg for walking, like that the inductive method and the deductive method both are needed for finding out a good solution for our economic problems. So, with this, I just finished today's class. Okay, the remaining we shall see in the next class. And for today's homework, I shall just a second, wait children. For today's homework, I want you to write 24th question, 24, 25, 27. That's all. 24, 25, 27, 34. Okay. I want you to write 24, 25, 27 and 34. That is, compare positive economics and normative economics. So, 4 answers I want you to write. Okay. Thank you children. That is all for today's class. Have a good day.